Hey everyone, welcome to Marketing Monday with the Watertown Oswego SBDC, where we go live on Mondays to talk about marketing. And I'm joined by Erica. Hey, Erica.
Hey, Nicole, how are you? It's been a
Good.
while.
I know it has been a while. I know you've been super busy, and I appreciate you joining this broadcast. It's always fun to have our conversations.
Yeah, absolutely.
So before we get into today's topic, which I think might sound intimidating, but kind of isn't actually once you get into it, is there anything people should know about the SBDC or what you guys are up to?
Yeah, well, I think as usual, the Watertown SBDC is here to help small business clients in the area. Jefferson Lewis and I believe still Oswego County is in the mix. The advisors up in Watertown are just fantastic and can help with anything as far as your startup or if you are an existing business. The SBDC does offer services to businesses with 500 or fewer employees. So some people don't realize that even if they're a bigger business, that they can reach out with, growth plans, strategy, marketing, those kinds of, that kind of assistance. So feel free to reach out to us. And there's our email address. That's a great way to get a hold of the advisors there at the center.
Awesome. Thanks. That's a great reminder. I hadn't realized that you guys worked with such large businesses. I always assumed it was little businesses like mine, but
yeah, and a lot of people think that it's just for startup, that people who aren't in business yet for themselves, but we absolutely do help and advise existing business owners with any need that they might have. So, awesome. And we also have great resource partners too. If we can't help, then we're able to get them in the right place. So
that's awesome. Really helpful to know people who know things, which is awesome. And so today's topic, looking at the sort of, we always put down ideas in a spreadsheet for these broadcasts. And this one is one I've been wanting to talk about for a while, which is using chatbots or basically automating social media messages. So I don't know. I feel like most of us
everywhere these days, right?
Yeah, right. And I feel like most of us have used a chatbot. I always think of like telecom companies, like your cell phone provider or your internet service provider, and you go on their website and the little chat thing pops up and clearly probably not talking to a real person, either that or they type real fast. But yeah, right. Erica, have you used chatbots either in the businesses you've worked with or have seen like smaller companies use them?
A little bit. Yeah, no, I definitely have seen small businesses start to use them. So I think it's a great point. I think that it's fairly getting easier and easier to figure out how to do that. We're talking about some of that.
Yeah, definitely.
That today as far as getting started. So no, I definitely in a couple of small businesses that I've worked for or worked with, I see them absolutely using it with FranNet that I was working with as a franchise consultant for a while. They were just getting it up and running, which, it makes a lot of sense for people who are just looking into the services that we provided. And also with a coaching program that I've been working with an organization, they absolutely use it. And, to at least start to try to get those questions answered from a student support point of view. And then we can talk a little bit about, well, what happens if the chat can't answer it for you, right?
Mm-hmm. So, absolutely.
Yeah. So that small businesses can know kind of what that pipeline is like, I think is really helpful, how it all works together. So yeah.
Right. And probably something you've noticed if you've been on Facebook for a little bit with your business is that Facebook will tell you the time that it takes to reply. So like when you look up a business, it'll say like Erica Davis Consulting, replies in minutes.
Right.
Or, this other company replies in hours like your response time is part of how they are ranking your page. And in addition to that, I think one of, if not the top customer service complaint that people have is that they tried to get information from business and they weren't responded to in a timely way. So if you're a small business, obviously, if you're a bakery and you've got your hands covered in dough, like most of the day, and someone emails you and asks you for your lunch specials, a little bit hard to like clean up and type them back. Right. So, so I just want small businesses to realize that this is a resource for that they can use. You don't have to be a big telecom company to use it. You don't need to be a programmer. I'm going to show you how to make one today. Like it's not that hard, but just to kind of define this, a chatbot is basically software that imitates human-like conversations with people. And the idea is that it answers questions or it handles simple tasks. And I thought before we got in, I'd throw in a few stats. And so chatbots have actually grown pretty substantially as a communication tool in the last even couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And they're definitely seen as a communication tool. And that, you probably have noticed or been on the receiving end, whether it's on Facebook or LinkedIn, of a message that was like sponsored, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this messenger marketing, or this idea, leads to actually better engagement than other kinds of posts because you're sitting in someone's inbox. And I just thought this was interesting that chatbots were going to handle a large portion of both healthcare and banking by the end of 2022. So we're seeing that, obviously with all these tech tools, right? Large companies adopt them first, and then smaller companies do.
Yeah.
So, you might ask yourself, like, okay, like what, how am I supposed to do this? And I'm going to show an example of the software, but there's tons of them out there. Just look up chatbot software. Obviously, it's funny because Sendinblue is a chatbot software. So they wrote a blog comparing themselves to other software. You can tell how that one's going to turn out. But point being is there's tons of them. I'm going to use a piece of software today called ManyChat. It's free. There is a paid version, but I'll get into the difference between those two tools in a second. But essentially, Erica, did you, when you were growing up, those choose your own adventure stories?
Oh, sure. Yeah. And we used to sell them at my bookstore too.
Right. Yeah. So those of you who maybe aren't in the Gen X contingency or millennials, they were stories. You'd be reading them and it would let you make decisions as the reader at different points. So it'd be like, and then, Billy walked to the cave. So turn to page 97 if he went into the cave, and turn to page 102 if he walked past the cave. So there are different points at which you could pick an outcome and the story would continue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I used to read them in order and then try to figure out all the different permutations of them. So I clearly did not get the point of them. But if you enjoy those, basically writing one of these chatbots is exactly like that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you my example one here.
So that's this, it's that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's just like it. And it's like, it's so this is ManyChat. And I'm just going to go into one of my automations here, my welcome sequence. We'll get into the different kinds of sequences in a second, but I'm going to just hit edit. So there is my little editing tool. So this is the first message you get. And then it says, pick one of these things: shop by town, shop by recipient, or I have no idea what I want. And as you see here, I can also put in things like a typing delay. So to give them time to read that message. And then I tell them that if they want to stop getting messages from me, they can just type stop. By the way, if you start getting those automated text messages, it's clearly a bot. So if you type in stop, you will get off those lists. I taught my mom that the last time I visited her, and she appreciated knowing that. So,
what is that? The shop by? Is that?
Hold on. Let me actually zoom in because this writing.
Yeah, because it's a little small.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So here are my options. Maybe one more. Boom.
Just to clarify a little bit, what does that
exactly
mean? Yeah.
Okay, so this is a retail website that I have, and it's like it's an island that has multiple towns in it. So I thought, okay, well maybe I'll program it so if someone wants to shop by town, when they click this button, hold on, I'm going to move us. Actually, I'm going to move us out. We don't need to be right here. 1 second, clicking in the wrong screen. Okay, so as you see here, when it clicks shop by town, show them this message. And it's
I gotcha. Right? Okay.
And when they click shop by recipient, show them this message. And by the way, I name all these files as I go along. And what you'll notice is if you look to this side, you'll see, look, there's by recipient, whatever. And so I make sure to name all of them so I can find them later on. But if I wanted to edit any of these, I just clicked through to Southwest Harbor. And so it says Southwest Harbor is on the quiet side of the island, but trust us, there's plenty going on. And so I have here, explore Southwest Harbor, and there is a link to the Southwest Harbor section of the website. So these are all the blogs on this website that are tagged Southwest Harbor. And then I have this way to get them back to their previous options where they can pick how they're going.
They're choosing these then.
They're choosing their own adventure.
Right. Yeah.
So the idea with this is that, what we want to give people is a way to see our information without giving all of our information, right? So, and you might, as a business owner, want to lead people down different paths based on what they pick, right? So if I was a bakery, I might say like, hey, welcome to so-and-so bakery, you know, place an online order, you know, wholesale order, or, questions about the products or something.
Yeah.
And based on what they pick,
yeah.
I might put them no problem. I'd put them somewhere else. What were you going to say, Erica?
Oh, I was just thinking like if it's a service-based business like consulting or something. I was thinking about for the franchise consulting, it's a pretty obvious like quick thing is a call to action as far as something like allowing them to choose. I want to talk to my local franchise consultant or something like that. So you're kind of getting to you really want them to talk to you, but then you're giving them that initial information, and that once they choose that, they do want to talk to you, which is a good thing to know.
Right. And also what's nice, let me just, I'm going to close out editing this. So I'm going to go home. What's interesting is over time, you can actually see what people click on. So if I go back to my welcome sequence, you see that it fired 12 times, and I can see what people clicked on. So 10% of people clicked on Shop by Town, 40% of people clicked Shop by Recipient, and 30% of people just said, I have no idea. By the way, and then at this step, 3 people went through, and then I have a click-through rate of all of the options I have here. So, restaurants that have outdoor seating, clothing companies, live music, pizza. Okay. So, and then I said more randomness. So I have like other things that I could take them through, and I can see
you had some miscellaneous things.
Exactly. Health, relaxation, beauty products, animal stuff. So I can kind of see like what people are generally interested in by what they clicked on. And I'm not going to click on this, but if I click on contacts, I can see everybody who has interacted with this chatbot over time. So I can see who these people are, which is, as we know from our remarketing and stuff with Facebook, like typically you don't get to see that. So the other thing we can do, because I think programming in this can feel hard. So what you can do is you can make yourself a flow chart and sort of be like, okay, if they pick this step, show them this, show them that. And so you can either take them through more steps, you can take them to a link, you can show them pictures, any number of things really. So what I thought I would do is fire off the sequence like we are just a regular person just visiting this, right? So you could see how it worked. So what I'm going to do is type in m.me. So this is the Facebook Messenger, and then / the name of the page. And what this is going to do is bring us to Facebook Messenger.
/ what page?
m.me / the name of the page. So here I have get started. So I hit the get started button, and what that does is fire off the welcome sequence. So there it is. There is my robot typing in what you just saw, which is Shop by Recipient, and then it did it 7 seconds.
This is on your website, right?
This is on Facebook, but you can program these for websites. You can program these for Instagram. I mean, you can, anywhere you get messages, you can program these.
It's like you're adding a button on your website.
Exactly. So if I click, I have no idea.
And how did this, sorry, I'm interrupting, but how did this get set up on Facebook?
I built it on ManyChat.com, and
it'll allow you to integrate.
So what I did is I integrated it into so one of the first things it does is it says, which pages do you want to integrate?
Yeah, okay.
And I can make a chat bot for any page that I'm the administrator of.
Okay.
So there's my messenger thing. I have no idea, no problem. Let's, pizza, outdoor seat. Oh, sorry, I have it zoomed in. That's why we're not seeing it's cutting off a little bit. So there's my pizza that didn't get clicked on at all. So let's click on pizza just to not hurt its feelings anymore. And then it says, pizza. And so I can click on pizza, and it takes me to everything on the website, every place on the website that sells pizza.
Cool.
So, so you can, and it doesn't, so I can say, oh, you know what? I didn't like that, back to options. And it's going to take me back to these same options that I was just looking at. So like I said, if you're good at programming the sort of name your own adventure thing, you could be potentially good at programming chatbots. So
and are you finding that it's helping you as far as managing your inquiries and that kind of thing? Or
yeah, well, it helps people get to products that maybe they wouldn't have gotten to otherwise, so sometimes, when you're shopping for something and you go to a website, you're just like, you just see that wall of products, the entire shop, and
right.
you're like, whoa, this is a lot. And you can type stuff in the search box, obviously, but sometimes
that
you
doesn't
just
work
want
either, right?
stuff to be suggested to you or whatever.
And everybody's looking more and more for the quicker and quicker answer, right? So this
exactly
is all about.
And what I tell people is, whether you type it or a robot types it, if it doesn't matter, why not just let the robot type it? So there's a few kind of popular things that people do with these, and the first example is the welcome sequence. So we have one for Anchor Space. So when people come to the co-working space one, I say, oh great, here's co-working space, like tell me about yourself. And it's either I have a business, I'm thinking of starting a business, or I'm not really sure. And so based on if they already have a business, I'm going to give them slightly different information than someone who's maybe thinking about starting a business.
That makes sense.
So, and I've seen too, when people, it's funny because we have one member that I know joined through the chatbot, because what happened was I saw the click in the membership thing. I see his name because, as you see with the contacts, and then that same day he filled out the form. So I know, and I'm sure there's more sophisticated ways to know this, but I know that through that welcome sequence, he was exploring how he could use Anchor Space. And by giving him the information and asking him questions and giving him information based on his answers, he was able to find the level of membership that he needed and just buy it right away. So the welcome sequence can get people, like I said, to certain bits of things at the beginning of the transaction. It can also just kind of help them, again, bakery. Hi, welcome to Erica's Bakery. I bake, every day until 2 p.m. So if you see, if it's before 2 p.m., click here.
Yeah,
that kind of
like
thing.
you said before, like it can help you sort of upfront contract a little bit how your business functions. Like you were saying, like, we're going to respond within 24 hours, or I work till 2, those kinds of things. It can definitely help people understand all of that, especially as a small business owner or even a solopreneur. Like, that's a great way to use the chatbot for sure.
And I think a lot of people understand that you aren't constantly available. They just want to know when they can get the information, or if the information is easy to get for you to tell them right away. So the second kind of thing is what's called a keyword trigger. And so what you can do is, if someone writes certain words, you could give them a message. So for example, if someone typed in hours or open, or like, when are you open, or what are your hours, we could make it so that they were served a message with our business hours in it.
Great. That's all they want to know, right?
Exactly. That's all they want to know.
Yeah.
It's so funny because, and I can even show you how this. So if we go under automation and I click on keywords. Oh, come on. Are we in the keyword thing? The keywords. Fine. So if message is hours, send them this message.
Yep.
Our hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. But we also check messages other times too. Oops, I realize I realize you can't see that. It's right. So if someone types in hours, they'll get this message. But I can also, you can also do specific keywords for anything else. So maybe you have a yoga studio and you always take walk-ins, right? And someone, maybe you're lying in bed at 9 p.m. like I am, and someone messages you at 9:30 and says, "Hey, I want to come to tomorrow's yoga class. Can I drop in, or do I reservation? So do I need to reserve? And the thing is, if you look at your past Facebook messages, there are words that people are using when they send you a message, and you can use those for the keyword triggers, right? So however your customer refers to it, like you might call it a reservation, but maybe they use the word like drop in, or maybe they say, "Can I just come?" So you can just,
hold a spot.
Yeah, exactly. And you can put stuff in quotations. So exactly. And you can show them a message so that while you're asleep and they're getting that information, they got a response right away. And you have a new customer that's coming to your yoga class that you didn't even have to talk to, but they're still happy.
Yeah. On the back end of that, I'm just curious, does it allow you to like, is it just a keyword, or does it allow you to like kind of put a phrase in? Or
you can put phrases, and you can even, and it didn't even have to just say hours. So if I, for example, wanted to edit this flow, was, because I wanted to make it, I was like, I threw this in the trash yesterday. So if I want to make a new keyword trigger, the message contains, if it contains hours, if it contains open, or when you open, do you open? So any one of these three things.
Yeah, that's helpful.
I can say, I'm going to create this trigger, and I'm going to either create a new reply, or I'm going to link it to something I already have. Maybe I already wrote a message that has the hours in it. So I'm going to create a new reply that says, and again, I can, if I wanted to add an image with a picture for some reason, delete that. So I can upload a picture, and I can put a title and everything. I can even add a button, and then I hit publish, and it's live.
Cool.
So it's, again, it's funny because when I started doing this stuff, I was really intimidated because I was like, oh, I have to like learn how to program and whatever. But honestly, what's really handy about this is my welcome sequence that I showed you at the beginning. It was a little complicated. The thing is, it'll let you save it as you're working on it, but it won't let you publish it to your page unless all the steps are closed. So what it'll say is like, hey, we can't publish this just yet because you have a button that isn't going anywhere. Nice. And they'll bring you right to it. And they're like, make this link somewhere because like,
yeah. And I was thinking that too earlier when you're talking, just like so many of the things that we talk about, because so much is DIY in marketing now, or could be, because of the user friendliness of all of these apps and everything. It's like, try to resist the fearfulness and just try it, and I mean, I would even think to the extent that, your messages that go out don't have, you want to try to make it as logical as possible for people so that they get the information that they need, but it doesn't have to be perfect either, right? And it's going to take some of that experimenting to get it right, to see really what your customers need from you in a chatbot and what makes the most sense for your business. So I wholeheartedly agree. Like just start and just try, and see where it gets you. Yeah.
And based on that, I'm going to get rid of the pizza button, and I'm just going to move the, the much more popular thing was pet friendly, the pet friendly stuff. I'm going to move that, to the place where pizza was, because that's getting way more clicks. So you can't, sometimes you can't, you can't decide until you try it. So, and like I said, at the very least, maybe the welcome sequence thing isn't, you're like, oh, I don't feel like programming a whole thing. Just program a few keyword triggers, and that's it. You don't have to bake a welcome sequence. That is entirely optional.
Right.
By the way,
down the line. Yeah.
Yeah. And at any point you can turn these off. Like if I wanted to turn off this welcome sequence, I can just turn it. I can just turn it off. I could just, change it to something else.
Yeah.
Delete it. And it puts it in the trash. Like, so you can always turn things on and off. You're not like, it's not a forever thing. I mean, I know most people know with the internet that there's no forever things, but at the very least, like getting your customers the information, if they're always asking, like, do you have gluten-free stuff at your bakery? Or like, do you have free parking? Like whatever. This will save you and your staff hours of time to just program the responses one time. And your customers happy because they got the information right away and they didn't have to wait for you. But, another kind of message that you might get, because you might say, well, wait a minute, Nicole, like I've gotten messages without signing up for any, without signing up for anything. And like, so if you have, say, an e-commerce store, what you could do is you could connect the order information with a chat bot so that the customer just got an automated text message. I mean, we've all gotten that, right? Where it says like, oh, your order has been shipped. Or your order has been received. Your order has been shipped. Oh, your order is out for delivery right now. And you're like, oh, I'm getting a lot of communication about this. How do they know that? Is that a lot of these, Shopify, Wix, Squarespace, all of that have integrations with chatbots that will let people, keep in touch with, the status of their order with you. And people love being overly communicated with. I mean, I don't understand it, but a lot of people love this sort of thing. But the other thing you can do is you can use the chatbot to get dynamic information. So remember at the beginning, so this tool is entirely free. When it becomes not free is when I say, hey, you know, do you want to give us your email address and we'll add you to our list? They type in the email and it goes into my email management system. So that's, you know, so that's like 10-ish bucks a month.
Does the chatbot app actually do like the authentication for that?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay, so that's nice, and that's probably why you're paying more for that.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes sense.
They're doing, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Is it a lot more? Is it expensive?
It's like $10 a month.
Yeah. Okay.
$9.99. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all like around that sort of $10 to $25 a month thing. But if you think about it, you could start with a free version and think like, okay, if this saves even 2 hours of staff time a month, you know, it's more than paid for itself. Or if it helps you build your email list.
Right. It's important to build that email list. So you might figure out that it's pretty worth it if you're getting a lot of inquiries that way and you want to capture those people.
Right. And, you know, all of them have these integration pages. So whatever software you're considering, there's probably a page of like what it integrates with. So if you use Constant Contact, you know, you can just check and make sure that the software you're thinking about using integrates with Constant Contact. I mean, I bet it does, but like that doesn't hurt to check. But they all have software that they integrate with that allow for these more dynamic features.
Yeah. And at this day and age, that's the push of a button or two at the most. You know, it's crazy how easy it can be. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, and there's all kinds of sort of possibilities back here in terms of like what is possible, but you could just start with just a few basic things. Now, if for some reason you're like, Nicole, I'm not going to program a whole chat bot, you know, it's not something I'm interested in. There is something Facebook has, and other companies might have something similar. Facebook calls it, of course, automatic responses, because they don't want to call it a chat bot because they don't want to scare you, right? So they say, okay, you know, you can program an away message, an instant reply. So this is all something that you can do within, what is it called? Oh, Creator Studio of your Facebook page. And obviously Facebook works with Instagram. So I think this would also kind of move over if your Facebook and Instagram are connected. If somebody messaged you, you could get them certain kinds of responses. So you can even sometimes set up these messages within the software itself. Obviously, Facebook wants you to do that, right? They want you to use their software, but there's plenty of third-party ones as well that allow for a little bit more functionality outside of, say, Facebook and Instagram.
On Facebook, does it go past that one message? Like, is there sequencing at all involved with those messages?
There can be a little bit of sequencing, but it's not nearly as detailed as something that was obviously built entirely for that. But you can do a little bit of sequencing, and you can definitely do the keyword triggers back there. Yeah. So like that may, and that's enough for you. That's totally fine. But you know, a lot of these softwares do start off as free, and then the paid stuff comes in when, like, oh, you want to get paid through it. I still like have a hard time with the idea. I mean, I have sent money through Facebook Messenger before, and I know that that's going to be increasingly a possibility. But you know, it's either when companies like this will charge you the money for the freemium products, it's either because you're getting money or because it's integrating with something, one or the other, or sometimes both. And it's not usually like
a service for you or something. You know,
exactly, and it's not usually prohibitively expensive, but like I said, you know, what I like about this is once you sort of figure it out, because what happens is every time you make a message, it just calls it message. That's why I named them all obsessively, so that I could like at least.
You need to, distinguish,
So if I wanted to change it, I'd be able to find it in the list. So message 1, message 2, message 3. Yeah, but you can just change the name of it. So that's just a little housekeeping tip from me.
Yeah, good advice.
But kind of the reason I thought about this particular topic now versus, I don't know, a couple of months ago is that there's something back here called broadcast messages. And what happened was, for a while, about a year or so ago, if somebody interacts with your chatbot, you are allowed to send them a broadcast message within 24 hours of them messaging you. So you can send them like a marketing message through whatever program they messaged you on, right? And then what happened was the rules changed and they really locked it down. And then I think they were like, oh, we locked it down too much. So about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I got an email that said broadcast messages are back. So I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing here. Now, what's really funny is that when I was beginning to program these about 4 years ago, I just found by the way, there's very few pages that are using this. I think there's over 2 million Facebook pages and 300,000 are using bots. So there's very few pages that are using these, especially by small businesses. Mm-hmm. But so it's hard to find examples 4 years ago, but I found a page called God. And I was like, okay, God has a chat bot. Let's see how this works. And so what happened was I stayed subscribed for like a month just to see. And what it would do is it would say, how are you today, my child? Or it would just send these whatever. And the thing is, you're allowed to, as if you're not selling anything, they can just send those messages even out of the 24-hour period.
So is this just with the Facebook?
Yeah.
Is this okay? All right. It's not just okay.
This is just Facebook, and like I said, the software that I used, I started using ManyChat about 4 or 5 years ago, and they've slowly added on. They've added Instagram on, they've added WhatsApp for business on, they've added other messaging programs, and a lot of the other ones too, like the Sendinblue example I said earlier. They let you have, and by the way, I could add this to my website too if I wanted to.
That was going to be one of my other questions.
Yeah.
Like, you use Facebook if you want your chat on your site too.
Yeah, you can totally add a Facebook chatbot to your site. Obviously, it'll say, "Hey, you're about to use Facebook Messenger," and that might put some people off. But you could basically dump them into this, or like I said, you could use a more general one that would just live on your website that wasn't tied to Facebook.
What matters? Yeah.
So I think the thing with broadcast messages is that you can send them, but you have to kind of just be careful of what the nature of the message is. And if you want to just keep in touch with your customers, you could send them like a, hey, it's fall at the bookstore, band book week is our favorite. What's your favorite band book or something? And you could just kind of, it's just you're just asking a question. You're not selling anything, right?
What about a promotional coupon or something like that? Are they going to?
That's so let's say, hey, what's your favorite band book? And you write back to me, now we're back in the 24-hour window. You've messaged me. And so I can contact you within 24 hours with my marketing message.
Okay. So that is an option as far as.
If you have a marketing message, you have to do it in the 24-hour
window.
Within the
24 hours.
Yeah.
Interesting. What that's
of their first engagement.
To keep up with, but you're wanting to keep up with that anyway, right? Because you get back to your customer. So
and like the open rate of these is like between 90 and 95% compared to, and if you, by the way, do an email newsletter, I don't know what your open rate is, but mine's around 25-30%.
Yeah, that's 25 is usually.
Yeah.
So think about that, right?
Yeah. So and think about it. These messages are pretty short. You can't send a broadcast message that's like, a wall of text. There is a character limit.
So is Facebook monitoring those at all, or as long as it goes out within the 24, as far as the content, are they monitoring them?
Well, does Facebook, I think Facebook tries to monitor stuff.
Yeah.
How well they do, I'm not sure. I'm sure that there's some automatic moderating with certain words or whatever, that your message would just be automatically deleted. But yeah, it's still a little Wild West out there. I'm not going to lie, just because, like I said, the amount of businesses using this tool versus the amount of businesses that are out there is very small. Which
I think is a great thing to think about as far as being an early adopter of this and getting out. It's a little bit of a differentiator if you're a small business to get out there and start doing this.
Yeah. So I thought we would see what it would let us do with the broadcasting. So I just clicked on broadcasts and then I just hit create a new broadcast. And it's going to tell me, I think, how many people this. So it says, what audience do you want to reach? The audience within the 24-hour window? Or I can go outside of it if I'm willing to go with the pro version of the software. So if I hit 24-hour window, it's going to say 0 people and I can just write this message and then hit next and it will, it'll go out to those people. Now, if I want to, let's say that I always want to, let's say that every time someone like follows us, I want to send them the same broadcast message. I think I can do that. I could do that as well. But I can also just ask my audience. I could ask my entire audience completely innocuous questions or just throw out like, hey, hope you're having a great day. And if they write back, boom, they're in that 24-hour window again. So
or you could test a message too, right? A little bit that way. Yeah.
Absolutely. And you can see how many people see your broadcast message, or, you know, and if underneath it, I had a link, I could see how many people clicked on it. So you have a really good idea of kind of like what landed and what didn't over time. So it's kind of like having just a very short, sort of like a hybrid between a text list and an email list kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like a little messenger list. But like I said, you know, if you think about it, something that I just am frustrated with as a business owner is all the places that I get messages, you know, and all the places I'm supposed to keep up. Right. And I do marketing, so they definitely expect me to keep up. But, you know, there's just so many different places. And typically the questions are they're either pretty basic or something that I can sort of anticipate. Yeah. And, you know, if I can turn off 90% of them by getting in people the information they want the second they ask the question, I'm going to do it. Yeah. And, you know, and what I always tell people is, you know, you can program these things. If you program them badly, it feels like a robot that doesn't want to talk to you. Because, you know, the telecom ones, it's constant, and you're like, oh, I get it. You don't want to talk to me, but I'm really, but I can't call anyone international for my cell phone and I have to deal with you. Yeah. But if they're programmed well, it can feel like a fun little quiz or something. Like, right. It feels like one of those, you know, fun quizzes that you used to take. And that's what's so important, is to test it yourself to see how it makes you feel, and think about your customers when you're, you know, as far as the responses, and have employees or friends, family also test it out and get some feedback on that, as far as, you know, what your responses are and all that. And also, I think it's important to always have, you know, have it as a guideline that, you know, this does not replace you talking to a customer or potential client or something, you know, in general. And, you know, it can't replace it when we know that they need to reach out to us and get in touch with us directly. Yeah. Right. And I did a broadcast on my own channel last week with, you know, and I was talking to this, you know, this colleague I have. He's like, you've never done a broadcast about no-click SEO or zero-click SEO. And I'm like, what's that? And it's that, you know, when you type into Google, what is the phone number of, you know, Erica Davis Consulting, and it just gives you the phone number, or how tall is the Eiffel Tower, and it just gives you a number. 60% of searches are no-click now. People just get the information that they want without having to go to a website and look around or search or click on links. And so what we want to do as businesses is give, you know, they're expecting that sort of thing, like a basic question to be answered. Now, obviously, if it's like, oh, I want you to cater my wedding with 300 people at it, and, you know, I get that I'm not going to get an immediate response to that. But hey, but maybe, but I do expect, we're not taking any new clients until 2024. Or I do expect, you know, click here to, you know, set up a consultation. We'll be back in touch within 24 hours. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't expect all the answers, but I do expect some answers, if not instantly, then relatively quickly. Yeah. I think it's really good. Like, a lot of us, you know, have old like FAQ sheets, you know, about our business and whatever, to review those kinds of things and to go, what are the simple answers for your business, you know, and include those in those sequences and that kind of thing. But that's a great idea. When the call to action is necessary. Absolutely. And like I said, you can if you want people to call you, you can make a button, and it's like click to call, and you can make that link to be a telephone number, and someone clicks it and they're calling your business. That's huge, because we know time kills steals, you know, and if somebody has to write down your number or get back to you later, you know, if you're making do the work, then have it be easy. Or you have your phone and you're trying to like copy and paste it, and then you're trying to like paste it into your phone. What is that just me? Now we're all driven crazy. If we Google a number, we expect it to be clickable. I mean, every once in a while I'll come across one that's not, you know, something that's not, or just on their website or something, and it all drives us crazy now. It drives me crazy. Right. Yeah. We want to make it as easy as possible. And like I said, if you do it in such a way, I mean, I think most people are pretty reasonable. And like I said, they know they're not expecting an instantaneous or, you know, otherwise hard, you know, response from a small business. Right. But there is a way. You do have this information on your website, and you might think it's clear, but, you know, you helped, you know, either you design your own website or you worked with a designer and you've been looking at this thing for years. And, you know, the less we make people have to look around, for stuff, the more likely that they're going to choose your business because you're easy to communicate with. And you
I
got
just
back to them right away.
I just had a restaurant idea that I don't know. This is not going to apply to everybody, of course, so sorry. But I just like, what's your soup of the day? You know, or like, what's your special? Because then how many calls are you avoid? You know, if you just are able to have that, I mean, you got to change it, you know, when applicable. But I don't know, just little things like that to think about with your, you know, whatever your business is, and you know, whatever. Yeah, I don't know, things like that aren't just about hours, but things that make your life easier as an owner, and your staff makes your, you know, staff's lives easier when they're there. Yeah.
Right. And it's so funny. One of my friends actually worked at a restaurant, and she said, I answer the phone conservatively 30 times an hour with our lunch specials.
And half of it. Right.
And she's like, I'm trying to get them to hire you to just do this because I just want to say, go to the Facebook page and go to the website and see them because it's taking up an hour of my time. And instead of serving customers, I'm answering the phone.
Yeah, so, and every somebody answers that phone and answers that question, they should be saying at the end, hey, you know, next next time you come in, you know, be sure to check out our chat bot.
You can ask us in Facebook Messenger and we'll write you right back. Oh, great. You know, because people just don't know. And the thing is, I'm 90% sure this is true, by the way, so don't take my word for it, but I think you can program messages to only go out certain times. So let's say that every Tuesday you have a gazpacho soup through the summer. That's your special. You can just make that message, you know, go out on when someone says soup of the day and it's a Tuesday.
That's what they get.
I am 90% sure that that's possible.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So you can automate even the stuff that doesn't feel automatable. There might be some ways for you to think about it to make it so it's a little bit less data entry in your life. But you saw how quick that was, right? Like I literally just typed in keywords and then typed in the message I wanted and clicked save and we were done.
It seems to me like somebody could get their first one, you know, their first, like the most important stuff done like in a day, you know, as far as their hours, up, their keywords set up. It seems like it's very doable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. And what was that? I know we're not promoting specific apps and everything, but that seemed very user friendly. Yeah.
So the example we're using today is called ManyChat, manychat.com. And you can make a free account. And like I said, it'll ask what you want it to connect it to, whether it's an Instagram page or a Facebook page or whatever. And I believe you can have the same bot or the same sequence, you know, so if I programmed a nice welcome sequence and I wanted it both on Facebook and Instagram, I'm 95% sure I can do that. So, so yeah, you can make something in a program like that. And as you saw, it's not like you're coding. It's more of the intellectual exercise is figuring out like, okay, what kinds of people do I have, you know, and maybe how do I, you know, what kinds of information do they need to know and what would they type and what would I type back to get them that information?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've done this with people with rental properties. Like if, you know, I had a client who had 150 rental properties. And so I said, okay, well, you know, I get that they could search your website, but there's a lot of them. And it's funny because rental properties and vacation places, they're all like Pinecrest Estate and, you know, Birch Woods, you know, Knoll or something, you know, and it's so hard. And as the person, you're like, wait, was the one I like the Birch one or the Pine one, or was it the Echo one? So anyway,
I haven't named my rental property yet. I guess I need to do that.
Well, if you need, I should make a rental property name generator. If you need help naming it, it's like natural object, natural surface, and the words either cove or something.
Natural surface. Okay.
So
like,
well, like ledge or beach or you know, vista or anyway.
Interesting.
Right. But what I did was, so she had a bunch of these properties, right? And so, all right, what kinds of things do I want? Oh, I want to browse by how many people this property sleeps. Or I want my property to maybe be in a certain town. So we made the welcome sequence say, great, you know, or, you know, have someone get in touch with me. And then we made a custom form and it was like, great, what's your name? What's your email? What's your phone number? Do you prefer email or phone? And then, you know, what are you looking for in a rental property? You know, what dates or, you know, where, whatever, and we'll get back to you. And so it was basically like filling out a form, but by asking them one question at a time. and then it spit everything into a form and emailed it to the real estate team. So, so you could set up something like that, or like I said, and we were able to see like people browsing, were they looking for sleeping 10 people, sleeps 10, sleeps 8, sleeps 12. What were they looking for? Oh, were they looking for in a certain town? Was there certain amenities that they clicked on? So, this is, in addition to getting them information, it gives you information as a business to
Does ManyChat do any like official reporting? Does it have a reporting option with your stats, or is it just you can kind of browse through?
I think you can browse through, but there is probably some kind of reporting feature. That's a really good question. Yeah, that's a really good question.
Well, people can find out because
absolutely
with
no, that's
Eventbrite or any of those apps, like they either you a report option, sort of probably at the bottom of the menu, at the or it's not there yet and not an option, but
right. And something I do want to clarify, just because someone might be watching and say, well, what about when I go on those websites and they're having clearly a live conversation with me? You go to a website and it says, oh, we have, our agent Tracy is here to answer your questions. You can actually handle live chat inquiries through here as well. But I don't have any open conversations, so we don't see anything here. But it can handle live conversations as well. So like, let's say that, let's say that you knew that someone on your team, was generally available like 8 to 4,
right.
So like maybe I'm like, okay, I'll do it Mondays and Wednesdays, and Jessica will do it Tuesdays and Thursdays, and Ben will do it Fridays or something. So we could just like take turns sort of manning it, and we would be getting those messages, and we could be responding live from there as well. So the live chat option is typically different, but you whether you want to use automated only or just live chat only or both, typically the chatbot software will allow all of those options.
So they are two very different things. So if you're thinking about doing live chat, like I know the student support team that I'm on, we're figuring out new lines for live chat and when we're going to be on and that kind of thing. You really got to think through that as far as
absolutely.
And whether can one person handle it? Does you need to have 2 people on at the time? Depending on your business.
Right. And to be clear, I know that this broadcast is about automated messages, and so I'm just bringing that up as the fact that it's the same software, but it works different. It would work differently. But you could use the same thing to do one or both of these things. But I really hope that small businesses take advantage of the automated messages. I think it'll save you or your staff more accurately a lot of time. If you're not the one who's responding, I would ask whoever on your staff is to just estimate about how much time they spend on Facebook messages in a typical day or week. I think you'd be surprised. It's more than you would think. And most of the time when we sign a client, we actually build them a super basic chatbot to kind of help them out and to help ourselves too, because we're the ones answering the comments and the and the questions. So by automating some of it, that helps us too, and it helps them build a list of people they can reach out to. So
awesome, great information. Yeah, good stuff.
All right, that's all I got. So don't be scared of chat. And we have one more broadcast coming up here with Marketing Mondays. I know. And then I don't know what's happening after that, but if you want to stay in touch with the SBDC, email them, get on their email list, say, hey, I want to be on your email list. I want to see your upcoming programming. They'll put you on if you email that address. And I know that, they were looking for, and might still be, success stories with businesses, always looking for that. So please reach out with your success story, whether it's on Facebook and YouTube where you're watching this, or whether it's somewhere else, and let the SBDC know how they've helped you out, because that helps them out, and then helping them out, they can help more people. So
that's awesome. If you have been an SBDC client before and you have a success story you'd like to share, that'd be amazing. We'd love to hear from you too. And Nicole, I know this is my last session on marketing, and so I think either the interns or Mike Kinney's going to join you next week. But I just wanted to say how much I've appreciated doing this with you.
Oh, likewise.
everything that I've learned from you too, through all of this, everything marketing, and we really, really appreciate all that you've done over the last whole year now that we.
I know it's been a year. It's crazy.
So
yeah,
on to new things, and don't just remember, everybody, that all of these have been archived, and you know, all are accessible and can be accessed through the YouTube, right?
Yeah, yeah, both of those platforms now offer playlists, which is nice. So as my final act after the last broadcast, I'm going to make sure everything is neatly in a playlist so that it's easy to find. So feel free to check out past broadcasts and and implement some of it for your business. Because the idea with this whole series has been, you can do it. You just need to know what the things are, and
get the help. Get help with
and the SBDC is here to help.
That's right. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thanks so much, Erica.
Thanks for everything.
Yes, likewise.
Bye, everybody.